Would you stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance with us?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, thank you. Public comment policy statement. If there's anybody from the public that wants to make a comment to the board, they will need to go over to the table on that wall and read the script and fill out the form to make a public comment. Then you hand it to our Mary Ann. At the end, we will reserve about 30 minutes for public comments, but you only get 3 minutes to speak on your topic. The board will not respond. Okay, everybody look over the consent agenda.
Yes.
Need a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll make that motion. I'll second the motion.
Okay. Motion to approve in a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. Next up, is there any new hires in here today? I think so. Okay. First up, Paula Hazelwood, Chief Executive Officer of Advanced Southwest Iowa Corporation. Quarterly update from Advanced Southwest Iowa Corporation.
Well, good morning, and thank you for allowing us to get on the agenda to do our year-to-date update. And welcome, Supervisor Jones. I think this is the first time you've been on the panel since you've been in the position. So welcome, and obviously we'll connect probably on a one-on-one basis to chat further. But I have several updates that I want to go over, not only on initiatives that we've been working on, some new initiatives coming up, and then obviously the economic development projects that we've been working on. So the first one I want to talk about is the Rural Pottawatomie County Infrastructure Coalition. As a reminder, that was a joint partnership between Pottawatomie County and the Iowa West Foundation and Advanced Southwest Iowa Corp to take some of the county's ARPA money, and then Iowa West matched it. And we were able to help several rural communities with primarily infrastructure improvements. And actually it's been going on since 2020. So we're winding that program down right now. I think we did get our last request for reimbursement from the city of Hancock for some water tower and lagoon repairs that they were having done. So that has been submitted to Mr. Wyatt. I know that he took over that program, at least the line item, and I'm assuming the program, since Mr. Kai left his position here. So I will be meeting with Matt also, just to make sure that we're both tracking on the same records and that we don't have any other residual outstanding invoices that will be coming in. So I'm pretty sure that's the last one. The VIBE program, Vibrant Rural Communities. As you know, the last update we gave you, we also have wound down that program, or it was a replacement of a prior program that the Iowa West Foundation administered in partnership with Advance and specifically the county. We are not going to be re-upping that program any longer. So it is pretty much going away, and we are going to implement a new initiative for rural Pottawatomie County. Now, with that said, the communities within rural Pot County can still apply to Iowa West Foundation for funding. So they just have to meet the guidelines of their specific grant application. So that is still a possibility. It's just not through the VIBE program any longer. So any questions on any of that? We have a lot of changes. So the new initiative that we're looking at, and I've spoken to several supervisors about this previously, and also Matt Wyatt. We're also looking to partner with the Iowa West Foundation and the county on this initiative. And this is specific to the communities in rural Pot County. And I don't know what the name of it is yet. I've been trying to play with the acronym, but there's nothing fun. So I just have it listed right now as the Rural Industrial Site Initiative. And again, we'll figure out a good name for it at some point. but specific to the communities in rural Pot County. And what we want to do is really identify 6 potential sites that industrial development can happen on. And we won't be able to financially do the due diligence on all 6 of those sites, but prioritize them and figure out what the top 3 sites are and really do the full due diligence package on it. So surveying, we won't be doing any grading or anything, but we can do a grading plan. Obviously, look at the Alta, the infrastructure pieces, everything that we need to figure out if that site is viable for industrial development moving forward. Now, we may get into it and figure out immediately that one of the first sites is not viable. Then we would move on to the next number 4 site and add that into the mix. But the plan is to utilize the residual funding from RPCIC, both from the county and Iowa West Foundation to fund this initiative. And we would hire an engineering firm to help us because I'm not an engineer. So we need somebody with that specialized skill set to help us determine. We have a program that's a sort of site certification program called Go Ready. And that is the format and the model that we are going to use for site certification. And it will primarily be DES site certified. Again, we're not going to go out and do the grading and all of those things because we can't afford to do that. We're also probably not going to buy it or put it under option. But we're going to work with the property owners and hopefully they'll, be open to all of this and we'll be able to identify good sites in rural Potawatomi County that we can do industrial development on. So I'm guessing that the majority of the sites are going to be smaller than 100 acres. We've looked at a site in Underwood already. There's a couple of sites in Oakland. I think there's one in Avoca. Walnut owns a site. So all of those will be in the mix that we look at, but we want to identify 6 initially. Any questions on that?
What are the funds that are available for that, Paula?
Matt Wyan and I are going to, is he here? No. Matt Wyan and I are going to sit down and meet, but we are anticipating there's about 600,000 left in the RPCIC fund. So that would be 300,000 county, 300,000 Iowa West Foundation. And I just had an estimate for another site that we're looking to do the due diligence work on with a local engineer. I'm not sure if that'll be the same engineer we end up going with because we'll put an RFP out and hopefully get some competitive bids back. But that particular estimate that I got back just last week was $72,000. So as you can see, that money will be utilized pretty quickly if we go down that path. But again, it might not be the full 72,000. We may be able to get that reduced. But I anticipated it would be at least 50,000 per site. So that's kind of what I've earmarked for each one, but we'll see how it goes. Any other questions on that?
Good.
Okay. In June, July, and August, we will be conducting our business retention and expansion meetings, and that is a partnership between the Council Bluffs Chamber and Advanced Southwest Iowa Corporation and our utility partners. We will be going out and meeting in person with all of our primary businesses in Council Bluffs and rural Potawatomi County, plus probably an additional 20 other businesses. And the reason we do that is first and foremost to thank them for doing business in Potawatomi County because they could be located anywhere. And secondly, to make sure that they're aware of resources that are out there to help them, make sure they're aware of who their elected officials are, and if they're having any either infrastructure issues, really. So if they're having any issues with roads or utilities, we're able to work to talk to them, connect them to the people that they need to potentially resolve those issues. So we will be doing that. If there is any company that any of you are interested in attending, let me know. And if we get it scheduled, I'll be sure to let you know, and you're welcome to attend as well. In the past, we've had some Board of Supervisors attend a few of the meetings with us. So it's just an added benefit for the companies because they get to meet you in person. So, and only one of you per meeting. So, but I'll let you know that. The next part is that we have we have 3 development projects, housing projects going on right now in the city of Oakland. The city is actually doing a mixed-use development between housing and commercial. And there are 2 other private developers that are looking. One of them is looking to put in 12 duplexes, and the other one is looking to put in a very sizable housing development, which would be, I would say, a more dense development with duplexes and single-family homes. And so I have hired a housing consultant to work with those folks. And it's not just for the city of Oakland. Those are just the ones that we have right now in the active pipeline. She met with them last week, the first meeting, and it's her job then to help them figure out the sequence of exactly what they need to do to get their projects off center pivot and do capital stacks that would help them both on the state and federal side. That would help them bring those projects into reality. I think the larger one is going to be done in phases. So maybe initially there would be 25 homes and then it would expand from there. So,
Okay.
Yeah.
There's the third one, the current housing addition that's being built.
No,
Okay.
no. So the first one's the city. They're mixed use with housing. The second one is the duplexes and the third one is the large phase project.
Okay.
And those are local developers that have, I would say, little to no experience in housing development. So this is a good thing to help them along, and especially as it relates to financing. And hopefully working with the city of Oakland as well on some infrastructure improvements. You know, they're building new wells. And so there's a lot of things in Oakland that are going on right now to support even the residential and industrial companies that they have located there.
So when you say you hired a housing consultant, did you hire or contract?
No, just contract with her. Yeah, she's not an employee of Advance. She's contract employment. Yep. It's built out on an hourly rate. So, and we have a cap on the amount that we have in the contract. And, you know, if it gets close to that amount, we'll look at it because I know there's also a housing project in Avoca that they would like help moving forward, kind of with some of the Lakin funds and different things that are out there. So likely this housing person will help with that as well at some point.
Is the packing plant out there expanding by any chance that you know
OSI?
Yeah.
They're not expanding at the current moment, no. No, but they have done expansions. Their biggest thing is employment, their employment base and getting enough people to actually work the shifts that they currently have. So this housing in Oakland will be, I mean, it's kind of being designed around not with OSI, but with OSI in mind. Okay. And then the last thing I want to talk about with initiatives and different things. So as you know, Shalimar left for a new position at the end of January. And so we initially put out the job description. We did get back about 10 applications. A couple of those individuals were very qualified, but ended up for various reasons backing out. We were going to do it again, but we've been approached by one of our other economic development partners that there may be an opportunity to partner with them. And so those discussions are happening this month. One of them's already happened. The other one happens Thursday of this week. So I'm waiting to hear back what the result of that is before we move forward. Because basically they would want Advance to oversee their economic development. And so I want to make sure, you know, before we do anything else with this position, that I know clearly what's going to happen with that. So,
Good.
yep. Okay, then as far as projects go, in specific to rural Potawatomi County, I'm continuing to work with Jason Armstrong. You know, initially we worked very closely on his I-29 industrial park off 192nd Street. It's been very successful. The last building on the last available lot is almost completed. It's about 20,000 square foot. So we'll be marketing that for him. He has also purchased the 30 acres adjacent to this site and wants to duplicate exactly what he did on the first one. So the part with that though is determining access because we would really like to get him access to Wabash to 275, coming out of that back lot, which is further south, obviously. And then, some of the infrastructure challenges, I would say, in that area as it relates to no sanitary sewer. There is an annexation resolution or agreement that Mr. Armstrong has with the city, saying if their sanitary gets within a certain footage of the development, he will voluntarily and be annexed into the city. So, which you guys were all aware, well, you that were on the board were aware of that at the time when it happened. And so we've got a lot of activity in that area out there. And if some of that does take shape, I would imagine that the sanitary sewer and additional water will be run 192nd and 189th Street. So I would assume at some point, not so far off in the future, that that is gonna, yeah. And I know Mr. Shea has spoken to Mr. Armstrong a few times, and he has also bought another piece of property in that general area that is going to be slated for mixed use, so it would be housing and commercial. And so meeting with him on a few pieces with infrastructure with that, and actually the city, because that part is in the city, so.
Good.
Yep. I talked about the Oakland housing already. We have not one, but two existing manufacturers in Oakland that are looking at sizable expansion projects. I would say right now they would be classified as mid-size companies. They're going to be taking that next step. One of them is definitely going to require a building upgrade. And so I'm actually going out to meet with them later this week. And then am scheduling to meet with the other company as well, but both good manufacturing companies. One of them actually is a legacy company that sold to an individual out of Omaha that has patented a specific piece of equipment, and now their business is really taking off. So I think they expect they're at 25 employees now to be at about 75 by the end of the year, which is a sizable increase for that size company.
More pressure on housing.
Yeah, a lot of pressure on housing. We have a company that is looking at 2 parcels of land in Neola, which is just off of the Neola exit, where I think it's the Maverick gas station is now across the street. We just got the actual parcels yesterday, so I'm gonna be scheduling time with Mount Wyatt to look over that to make sure that everything is copacetic with what they're wanting to do on that parcel, and also the roads, obviously. So, because I'm not sure, like access, I'm pretty sure it's a gravel road, and so need to talk to Matt about all of that. See how that goes. Couple of buildings, but it's really a lay down yard for storage units. Yeah. Are you aware of that project? And then TSL is doing a project here in Council Bluffs that is it would be west of South Avenue, Harry Langdon. So there's the rail yard there. And then on the opposite side of the interstate, you see a lot of concrete going in. That's TSL's new project here, and that's going to be their new intermodal facility. So they're moving primarily all of their Omaha and Carter Lake processes here to Council Bluffs. Which opens up opportunities in Carter Lake. So the CEO and owner of that company and I are going to go meet with the new city administrator in Carter Lake, Cameron, if y'all have met him or not, to talk through. They're getting ready to do a new citywide strategic plan. So this is a good time to get in and identify the buildings and parcels of land that could be included for additional industrial development in Carter Lake. So we'll be doing that. And then finally, on the rural side, Supervisor Miller and I in May are going to be meeting with some leaders in Macedonia to talk about some of their downtown buildings, specifically the former city offices, to see, or city halls, to see what, if anything, can be done to save that building, or if they need to, because structurally wise, it needs to come down, what finances would be out there maybe to help them do that. So, and I haven't been in that building for a long time, so we'll see. We'll see how the conversation goes. Any questions on the rural stuff before I quickly go through the Council Bluffs stuff?
We lure TSL away from.
We didn't. We actually didn't. So it was kind of a weird situation because where they were having to come out of their facility was off of Cummings Street. Or, yeah, I think Cummings Street. And there was a lot of restrictions on trucks and they were getting bogged down with time, and time is money and fuel. So they just basically started looking around. They bought the former National Concrete building on South Avenue.
Mhm.
They bought that. They have it leased out to another logistics company now, but that is really the reason. Their ease to get to the interstate system is really the reasoning.
That whole road system right under that bridge needs improved really bad.
It definitely does. And I just met with Iowa Interstate Railroad last week and the mayor, and so we talked about that. So we'll see how that goes, but we've been talking about that for a long time.
Prize grants, maybe?
Potentially, yeah, you never know, potentially. If that's what happens, that's probably exactly what we would use for it, so.
Good.
Hopefully project related, so there's a bigger percentage, but we'll see.
Okay.
Any other questions on the rural information? In reference to Council Bluffs, I already talked about TSL. The next one, we have a very large manufacturing project that we're working that has put the main parcel under option. It is currently annexed into the city. They have the other two parcels surrounding it that are currently under option that will need to be annexed into the city. This is one of the projects that I talked about that would drive the additional infrastructure improvements to the south. So working through several things with this company, but so far it's looking good. And yeah, they're a national company and it would be awesome to have them located in Council Bluffs and Potawatomi County. Our data center projects, as you can imagine, we had about 6 of them in the pipeline. They've kind of gone, they haven't all gone away, but because of the restrictions that Midiam has to provide the power in the time frame these companies need, we've had a couple of them fall off. But we do have a couple bigger ones that we're still working on in the pipeline. One of them in the city of Council, well, actually all of them in the city of Council Bluffs. But this one I know is going to materialize. So you've probably seen it on social media, so I'm not gonna further discuss it because I'm sure all of you have seen it. But we continue to work with them on that project. We do have a cool new company in Council Bluffs called Ice Solutions. And they took a building on North 6th Street that was, I would say, a little bit run down and completely renovated it. It's a beautiful facility now. They manufacture ice solutions, so for winter, right? So both residential and commercial. So it's this, they have a proprietary blend that they utilize that evidently is just selling like hotcakes. So
You said North 16th?
North 6th.
6th.
Little bit down the street from the Pace Center on the left-hand side. Can't miss it. They've secured all of it in with really nice gate system and their trucks are out there. Yeah. So really cool. They have several facilities in Omaha as well in Sarpy County that are different. I mean, this is part of a bigger company. So Alfco Construction actually owns it, and this is a company of Alfco. We do have a RFP that we're working on submitting for the 192nd Street site, the former Faro site. This would be they manufacture magnets. So it's a really good project and we're working on the RFP as we speak, collecting the data, and hopefully that I can get that submitted by the end of this week. And then finally, the 2 gentlemen that are sitting next to me, I asked them to join me. So Josh Calson is the chair of Advances Board currently and has been for a couple of years. And then Cody Forrestal, obviously, we've had a relationship with the North 15th Street project. And, you know, when Cody and Josh first approached the board, you know, obviously it was to take a piece of property that the county owns, has owned for 20 plus years, that has not been on the tax rolls, kind of a piece of property that I would say had a little bit of risk factor involved with it, because some of the, you know, infrastructure things. And so they came in and we worked with the County Board of Supervisors, obviously, to negotiate a longer term purchase agreement with a due diligence period. Their purpose was to, you know, do the due diligence, but also market it. And thankfully, they have somebody that is interested in that piece of property. And so they have a current purchase agreement with that company. I've already met with them twice. And I will say this, we met with the city because zoning was going to be an issue. Met with the city late last week, and the way that they're looking to structure this facility, it's a technology company, it's a small one. They're looking to put the facility on the back lot, which by right is already zoned appropriately, I-2. And then the front lot, they would do detention and probably landscaping and some signage to make that frontage piece look really nice. And so by right, they really don't have to do a rezone. The city requested to look at we have a rendering of what the facility would look like. It's very nice. And, you know, it's an entrance coming into the city, so they want to be mindful of that, obviously, and I'm sure, you know, you at the county do as well. But I think just by even looking at the renderings of other facilities, they do a really nice job of making their buildings look very aesthetically pleasing. So the city wants to see their site plan, just to look at the landscaping and all of those things. So that's being done by their engineer. And then I think once that happens, then, you know, they'll sign off on it because there's no, I mean, they don't really have to do anything. So by right, it's already zoned appropriately. So I think that's a good thing. And then, you know, technically, if by chance this does not fall, or this project falls through, very short due diligence period, 90 days, which is almost unheard of. So they're serious. So as long as they're satisfied with their due diligence, that transaction hopefully will move forward. But by chance, if it doesn't, I just want to be realistic that we will be back in front of you to extend that purchase agreement with Trayville, probably for another 12 months so they can continue their due diligence and marketing. The way it goes with projects. So anything to add, Cody or Josh?
Yeah, so they'll have, they got the 90 days and then an option for an additional 90-day extension, which would put it past the May 27th,
That's
the May
right.
deadline for
Yep.
our contract. So we've been pursuing two avenues on this ground. One is a development, one was the outright sale. We've had some preliminary meetings with the city on the development for a tiny home development, and they showed, they indicated they'd be willing to tighten up the lots to increase the density of making that a viable project. We have some initial drawings, construction drawings, and then we paused before we jumped into civil because we got this accepted offer. So essentially, the extra 12 months Paula alluded to basically protects us to continue on with our work on that project if the sale were to fall through.
Correct.
Which we hope not. We hope that is through,
Yeah.
but we'd be able to hit the ground running with our other option should it not close.
So these type of particular technology companies, there's a requirement with larger technology companies, you have to locate a smaller, what they call an edge facility within a certain geographic location of the larger facility. So this is one I'm assuming is supporting the project that's going on at that's being built at Iowa Western right now, is what I'm thinking. But it could be others.
Bring them across. Get it done. Okay, questions,
Any
comments?
questions on anything that I can answer?
Yeah.
Of course, Mr. Wickman.
When those data centers come in, do they have they provide you with a water plan? Don't they use a lot of water?
Some of them do. A lot of them are trying to change their models, so they're not so water heavy these days, but that's not typically the first thing that we talk about. I mean, we do get their utility specs, because the power really is gonna drive everything. So the first thing is that they have to work through Mid-American's new system of validating their power use and, which is pretty intensive. And if that goes through, then we would move forward with the other pieces.
But they use water to cool it, right?
Yeah,
So do they recycle that water and
Yes.
reuse it
yes.
on site? You don't know.
No, I would say a little bit of both because those are some of the bigger companies that utilize our wastewater treatment facility. And so I would say they do some recycling on site, but some of it does go to the wastewater treatment facility. And AI is, from what I understand, harder to cool
Hmm.
the equipment. And you guys are experts at that. Jump in.
How is the water plant?
The wastewater treatment facility. With everything that we have going on, I mean, it definitely could use an upgrade. And that is something that the city is, I think, actively talking about always. So, and we'll continue to talk about its timing and its money. Takes a
One of
long
the
time.
meetings we were at, I asked about cooling and if they're changing. And they did say they're really looking at doing some extra.
Yeah, a lot of the technology companies are looking
Things like
to
that.
change their systems. So they're not as heavily reliant on the water systems.
They're
Yeah.
using city water, not well water.
City water, yep. So with the technology companies that we have in the pipeline right now that we're still working with, I do believe that those are gonna be, for an extended period of time, our last technology companies that we work with. Not forever, but I do think that there's gonna be a pause, to let Midiam kind of catch up and kind of see what the environment dictates.
Other questions? Is that it, Paula?
That is it, sir. Thank you again. I really
Thank
appreciate your
you for coming in.
support.
Really appreciate it.
Appreciate your support.
Thank you. More jobs, more housing.
Yep. What we do.
Thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
Thanks. Okay, next up. Madam Clerk, Partner Relations Coordinator, Iowa Donor Network, and Cody Payne, Chief Medical Examiner Investigator, Pottawatomie County. Discussion and or decision to approve and sign proclamation designating April as Donate Life Month in Pottawatomie County. I have a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Would you like to speak to this?
Bill. Hi, everyone. My name is Madeline Clark. I'm with Iowa Donor Network. I want to take a moment to thank the board as well as our partners at the Medical Examiner's Office for pioneering meaningful ways for communities and healthcare partners to become involved in donation. We truly cannot honor the wishes of those who choose donation or continue to share the stories and legacies without your support. Pottawatomie County holds an incredibly special place in our hearts here at Iowa Donor Network. Grief is a time when many people feel alone, but through this proclamation, you have helped ensure that individuals and families impacted by donation have a space to connect. The stories of loved ones who give the heroic gift of donation don't end in the moment of donation. They continue on long after, living through the lives that they touch. In 2025, Pottawatomie County Medical Examiner's Office referred 143 potential donors to Iowa Donor Network, honoring their legacies by offering the opportunity for donation. From these referrals, 9 individuals went on to become tissue donors. And a single tissue donor can impact anywhere from 50 to 300 different people, demonstrating the profound reach of these generous gifts. Today, we call attention to the great need for life-transforming transplants that still exist. We honor the many generous individuals and their families who have chosen to share life through donation, and we celebrate all lives who are saved and healed through these incredible gifts. In closing, thank you to the board and our partners at the Medical Examiner's Office for your compassion and steadfast commitment to this mission. Your support affirms the importance of donation within this community and ensures that donors and their families are honored with dignity and respect. And we are deeply grateful for your partnership and dedication. Thank you.
Anything? Either you?
No, it's all right. I can follow. Thank you for your support.
Okay. I got a motion by Miller, a second by Jorgensen to approve board to sign proclamation designating April as Donate Life Month in Pot County. Mary Ann, would you do a roll call, please?
Chairman Shetty?
Aye.
Supervisor Wickman?
Aye.
Supervisor Jorgensen?
Aye.
Supervisor Miller?
Aye.
Supervisor Jones?
Aye.
You'd like
Motion
me to-
carried. Please, would you read that?
National Donate Life Month, April 2026. Whereas Donate Life Month is observed each April to raise awareness about the critical need for organ, eye, and tissue donation, and to honor the generosity of donors and their families. And whereas more than 100,000 people in the United States are currently waiting for a life-saving organ transplant, including over 600 Iowans, with a new person added to the waiting list every 8 minutes. And whereas one organ donor can save up to 8 lives and a single tissue donor can heal more than 75 people, demonstrating the profound and lasting impact of donation. And whereas in Iowa, the generosity of donors resulted in 124 organ donors providing 376 organs for transplant in 2025, along with more than 2,000 tissue and eye donors helping thousands more. And whereas organizations such as Iowa Donor Network and local medical professionals, including the Pottawatomie County Medical Examiner's Office, play a vital role in supporting donation and honoring the gift of life. Now therefore be it resolved that the Pottawatomie County Board of Supervisors hereby proclaims April 2026 as National Donate Life Month in Pottawatomie County and encourages citizens to register as organ, eye, and tissue donors and to share their decision with their families. Dated this 21st day of April, 2026.
Thank you. Okay. I want a picture. Do you want to sign?
Sure.
We'll sign that. And then you could take a picture with them up there.
Okay.
We'll have you come up and get a picture. Okay. Whatever you got.
Donate Life Month. I think this way. Do you have a preference on which side? Oh, I don't want to block anyone.
You're okay. We're gonna stand.
Sure, once you're up.
We're just waiting for something to hold it up.
This time I wore flats. I think last time I wore heels and was blocking.
Right here.
So bad.
Cody, would you grab that as soon as Mary Ann signs?
Never had such silence waiting for me.
Here, let me hold it.
Susan.
How's that? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all so much. Thank you.
Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate you guys' support. It's great to see everyone again.
Yeah.
Like every other year, I'm up here.
Thanks for coming in, Madeline.
Thank you
Good to see you again.
as well.
Thanks, everybody. Next up, Antonia. I always stumble over that. Smith, Director, Council Bluffs Public Library, and Sabrina Lewis, Director of Oka Library. Discussion and or decision to approve and sign proclamation designating the week of April 19th to the 25th as National Library Week. Want to speak to that?
Sure. So this is a national week that happens every year in the United States. And today is actually National Library Worker Day. And there are 5 public libraries in Pottawatomie County. We're just here able to represent. Our colleagues are off doing very important things in libraries. And we are just grateful for the support every year from the county so we can continue to serve the residents of Pot County as well as the residents of each of our cities that we represent. And we just encourage you to get your library card, renew your library card, and utilize those free resources.
Hey,
So
I need a motion to approve.
moved.
Second.
Jeff?
Yes.
Okay, Mary Ann, would you do a roll call for me?
Chairman Shay,
Aye.
Supervisor Jones,
Aye.
Supervisor Miller,
Aye.
Supervisor Jorgensen,
Aye.
Supervisor Wickman.
Oh, yeah, oh, wait, I gotta read that.
Yeah.
Sorry. Okay, whereas libraries spark creativity, fuel imagination, and inspire lifelong learning, offering a space where individuals of all ages can find joy through exploration and discovery. Whereas libraries serve as vibrant community hubs, connecting people with knowledge, technology, and resources while fostering civic engagement, critical thinking, and cultural enrichment. Whereas libraries provide free and equitable access to books, digital tools, and innovative programming, ensuring that all individuals, regardless of background, have the support they need to learn, connect, and thrive. Whereas libraries partner with schools, businesses, organizations to maximize resources, increase efficiencies, and expand access to essential services, strengthening the entire community. Whereas libraries empower job seekers, entrepreneurs, and lifelong learners by providing access to resources, training, and opportunities that support career growth and economic success. Whereas libraries nurture young minds through story times, STEAM programs, and literacy initiatives fostering curiosity and a love of learning that lasts a lifetime. Whereas libraries protect the right to read, think, and explore without censorship, standing as champions of intellectual freedom and free expression. Whereas dedicated librarians and library workers provide welcoming space that inspire discovery, collaboration, and creativity for all. Whereas libraries, librarians, and library workers across the country are joining together to celebrate National Library Week under the theme Find Your Joy. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Brian Shea, Chairman of the Supervisors of Potawatomi County, proclaim April 19th to 25th, 2026 as National Library Week. During this week, I encourage all Potawatomi County residents to visit their local library, explore its resources, and celebrate all the ways that the library helps our community find joy. Dated this 21st day of April 2026. Wow. You want to come up for a photo? Kate's standing back there. Let's get this signed and we'll get that to you.
So how are you celebrating National Library Workers Day?
Giving people books.
Kindergarten field trip today, council's meeting at the local library, and yeah, we'll be busy.
Yeah, we have a volunteer appreciation event today,
Nice.
so
Good.
celebrating every part of the library. Yeah, yeah, she couldn't make it.
Thank you, Marianne.
There we go, thank you. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming in.
Next up, Abigail Osterhaus, Prevention Specialist, Heartland Family Services. Discussion and or decision to approve and sign proclamation designating April 22nd as as National Drug Endangered Children Awareness Day. Right?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Okay. You want to speak to it?
I do. I just want to share some statistics that fresh off the press yesterday at our Iowa Deaf Conference that I feel like really just highlight the importance of why I want to raise awareness of the work that our coalition does in the community. So nationally, about 39% of foster care removals involve substance. Iowa almost doubles that number. About 60 to 70% of child welfare cases in Iowa involve substance use. So that can be the neglect and abuse that stem from substance use, that can be parents using it for kids, OWIs involving intoxication, anything like that. And if you don't like statistics as much as I do, I'll share a story with you as well that I feel like really hits home. So like I said, we attended this conference yesterday, and one of the speakers there was a drug endangered child herself. And she really detailed her experience having to grow up at a really young age and all of the trauma that she went through. And one of the things that really stood out to me is that she felt forced to be resilient. And the problem with being forced to be resilient is that it can be a burden to these kids with everything else that they have going on. And so our coalition does the work that we do to build resilience. I think that's the key word, is build as a community, everyone in different sectors. We need to make sure that we're identifying, intervening, and coordinating care and services for these children and their families. So thank you guys for doing this proclamation.
Thank you.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll
Okay.
second the motion.
Motion by Miller and a second by Jones to approve the proclamation. Mary Ann, would you do a roll call?
Chairman Shay,
Aye.
Supervisor Jones,
Aye.
Supervisor Miller,
Aye.
Supervisor Wickman.
Aye.
Supervisor Jorgensen.
Will you read that?
I will. Excited to read this today. I was a police officer for 29 years, worked with Heartland Family Services quite often, just a great group. So very much appreciate what you do. Thank you. National Drug Endangered Children Awareness Day Proclamation. Whereas drug endangered children are at risk of abuse and neglect due to their parents or caregivers, illegal drug use, possession, manufacturing, cultivation, or distribution, and whereas children whose caretakers substance misuse interferes with his or her ability to parent and provide a safe and nurturing environment can also be at risk, and whereas with intervention, drug endangered children can move from risk to resiliency, and whereas resiliency can break generational cycles of drug and child abuse and can change the trajectory of a child's life, and whereas all citizens in Iowa can play a role in reducing risk and build resiliency, ensuring all children in our community grow and develop safely in a drug-free environment. Now therefore be it proclaimed that the Potawatomi County Board of Supervisors does hereby recognize April 22nd, 2026 as National Drug Endangered Children Awareness Day in Potawatomi County, Iowa, and encourages all citizens to work together to support prevention efforts, promote awareness, and help ensure the safety and well-being of all children in our community. Dated this 21st day of April 2026.
Thank you, Keith.
You bet.
Thank you for coming in. Well, Kate's waiting for another picture.
Christie, is there anything you want to add?
Abigail does such a great job. Just a couple other quick words is that, I go into the jail and developed a program, and a lot of the individuals, in there were drug endangered children. So the lifelong process that makes. And so we really do appreciate that you are helping us to get this awareness out, because I know a couple of them have shared that they were born addicted, and at a very young age, that means they enter into addiction themselves. So there's a lot of strategies and levels to what we're trying to do. So thank you.
You know,
Thank you, George.
Facebook is, social media has brought a lot this issue out, big time. And I'm so glad, you know, that it's being addressed by your organizations like yours. So disheartening to hear children, babies, drug overdose. So upsetting, but thank you for what you guys do.
And onward, that before we get the picture, I just brought these to, for each of you supervisors. This is just, passed down to, I do, trainings on Kratom and 7-OH, which are also now we know considered, substance use disorder. And, mothers who use Kratom, while they're pregnant, their babies are also addicted, born addicted. So that's just a training I'm doing coming up in May. Love to pass it around to any group you know. Anything we can do to mitigate down. So Susan, I know we work a lot together. So anyway.
Supervisor Jorgensen, you inside.
We're prevention specialists together.
partners in crime.
So we're partners in crime.
Cool.
Thank you.
On a
Thank you.
positive note, I forgot to mention, we are hosting a family game night for Deck Day tonight from 4:30 to 6:30.
Thank you guys.
So if you have kids, grandkids, or like a
Yeah,
nephew or
I
anything
know.
like that,
Thank you,
please come
thank
by, there'll be food and everything.
Thank you very much.
What
Thank
is it? 4:30 to 6:30.
Thanks, Abigail.
Thanks for coming in. Next up, Mark Shoemaker, Interim Executive Director, Golden Hills, presentation, discussion, and/or decision on funding requests for Golden Hills.
Thank you, Brian. Yeah, like you said, I am Mark Shoemaker and I'm serving as interim executive director for Golden Hills. I started that position in March. I think it was March 6th. It's a 90-day interim position. So I got about a month and a half left, and I got a lot to accomplish. I'll get to that in a little bit here when Josh gets some slides pulled up. And you can jump to the next one, Josh. The mission of Golden Hills is to collaboratively develop and lead community conservation and cultural initiatives to improve our quality of life in rural western Iowa. Some of the program areas are land stewardship, water resources, arts and culture, community partnerships, local foods, and outdoor recreation and tourism. Our goals, or Golden Hills goals, I guess there are goals too, since I'm there, develop industries and local communities that utilize local resources, ensure healthy natural resources that meet the needs of agricultural, industry, private use, and recreational facilities, promote and enhance art, culture, and historic resources in rural communities, collaborate with local governments and organizations on projects that benefit the environment, and work on projects that fill gaps in community services to benefit people of Southwest Iowa. The official region of Golden Hills is you can kind of see it down in the lower left-hand corner. There's 8 counties, kind of surrounded in blue. And you can see the different shades there of the red. That's primarily the darker shades are the more programs and more projects that Golden Hills does. And then it goes down from there. Outside of that, outside of the region, a lot of those other areas are Hungry Canyons Alliance projects that get done in Southwest Western Iowa. Summary of the request, it's to continue the success and sustainability of our work in Pottawatomie County. We're requesting $15,000. I think that's what was funded in the past. And that allows Golden Hills to be flexible in providing support and resources for projects and initiatives outlined in this presentation. Recreation and tourism. Recently, the area hired a trail coordinator with the support of the county, the Trail Association, the Iowa West Foundation. Lost Hills National Scenic Byway. We have a project coordinator that works on the Lost Hills Scenic Byway, promoting that. He also works on Western Skies and the Glacial Till Scenic Byway as well. And the Low High Trek is hike in the Less Hills that happened about a week and a half ago. I haven't gotten a report on that to see how many people attended, but it's well attended. It sells out every year. And it's just a great opportunity for the people of the county and the region and from other states to come hike in the Less Hills. Local foods, there's a Dream to Farm program. That's a multi-week educational program that Golden Hills works with. Farmer resources, local food guides. They work a lot with the farmers markets. Jamie does an awesome job with the local foods, and I know she's really busy and getting out there. She's trying to promote local foods and trying to get restaurants and people that use foods to use more local foods and locally produced foods. Land stewardship is another area that Golden Hills participates in. They do a lot of seed harvests up at Hitchcock and in the Less Hills. We have a native plant sale that's coming up soon, and I think they're actually working on growing some oak trees from acorns collected at Hitchcock in the Less Hills and start growing those and selling those too for the people of the county. Arts and culture is another area that Golden Hills supports. One of the big ones that's going to be coming up that we're going to be playing more of a role in is the Southwest Iowa Arts Tour. That was primarily spearheaded by Becca Castle down in Mills County. She's got a lot on her plate. She asked that Golden Hills take over more of that and kind of coordinate that and lead that effort. Water resources projects. Golden Hills participates in the Regional Conservation Partnership Program, the RCPP, East and West Nishna Water Resources Management, and the Underserved Farmer.
Mark,
Yeah.
what's an underserved farmer?
It's a cost sharing program for local food producers to implement water replenishing agricultural practices. So it's just trying to get out there and help farmers do those practices and identify those areas.
Okay, thank you.
Then, like I said, my plate's a little bit full. My 90-day goals are assess the programs and organizational structure, establish an advisory board to evaluate programs and potential funding strategies, lay out a fund development plan, coordinate grants and fundraising, identify coaching needs, and begin to update the strategic plan, complete the cost recovery capacity building project, amend the bylaws, hire a trail coordinator, and hire an executive director. So I got quite a bit to do in the next month and a half. And these are the current staff. I was hoping some of them would be here today, but I'm alone. So they're amazing staff. They do great work. They're very passionate about conservation and projects in Pottawatomie County. And it's fun to have the opportunity to work with them. I have had experience with Golden Hills in the past as a conservation director with Pottawatomie County. I was on the Less Hills, Missouri River Region Board. It was a board that was formed when we got funding from the Iowa Parks Foundation and Mid-American Energy. A lot of the projects that came out of that were the cabin initiative. So all the cabins in Harrison County, Pottawatomie County, and Mills County benefited from that. The new outdoor shelter up at Hitchcock was part of that. And there was multiple other projects throughout the 3 counties. It was really interesting to do that because it kind of took you out of your silos. You couldn't, it wasn't like a me project. You had to be, you had to work with the other counties and realize that you're not the only one out there, that you had to kind of give up some things and let them take on some things. So Golden Hills has been a part of conservation of what I did in the past too. So like I said, we're asking for $15,000. I think that's what historically has been done. That was provided by the county. I was thinking this was probably going to be done a couple months ago, but it wasn't. So it was interesting being interim executive director, running for supervisor, coming in here asking for funds. It's just an interesting situation. So didn't know exactly how I was going to do it. So questions, Mr. Whitman.
How'd you know?
I know you always have questions.
This is for the 26, 27 fiscal year, right?
Yeah, we run in the in a calendar year. So it's our fiscal year right now, so we're asking for funding for, yeah.
Okay. Then you said there's 8 counties. It looks as though pot gives 15. You've collected 13 from Mills and Harrison.
Yeah, 10 from, Mills County and 3 from Harrison.
Is that
And we're-
pending? Are those pending?
Those aren't pending. Those are confirmed. We just need to get the funding from them. And then the others are pending as far as requests from, need to look at my sheets, Fremont, Page.
No. Shelby, Captain Page.
And Cass. Montgomery.
Montgomery.
Yeah,
Oh, that's a pending request.
yeah,
Have you been to Shelby, Cass and Page yet?
not yet, no.
What do they normally give? Do you know?
I have no idea. Sometimes they haven't given any in the past, so,
Okay. So.
and it's gonna depend on the programs, the amount of programs that we do in the county. I would assume it's gonna be lower, like Harrison County. I mean, there's not a lot that we do up there, but there is some that Golden Hills does. Fremont County does, we do quite a bit down there, so I expect them to possibly contribute a little more than $3,000.
That's in your request, Mark, it has the 25, 26 county budget. I'm
Yeah.
gonna guess that's 26, 27, right?
Yeah, unless, does it come out of this year?
Well, we passed it last time, in June.
Oh, you did? Okay.
So it
However
doesn't,
you want to however you want to do it is fine.
all right. I'll make sure Janelle let you know
Okay,
where we're at with it.
okay.
You know, we gotta do it through our fiscal, so it'll be
Yeah.
after July 1st, correct?
That's how you have to do it, yeah.
Okay. All
I
right.
thought the funding was provided earlier last year for some reason.
Let's see, I requested that information and it was
Was it in
passed
May?
June, what,
June? Okay,
June 10th,
okay.
2025.
Okay, questions, comments? Need a motion?
I'll move that for you.
I'll second it.
A motion by Wickman, a second by Jones to approve $15,000 funding request. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carried. Mark, thanks for coming in.
I need to change that. That comes out of gaming, so we'll take it out.
Yep.
Out of gaming for the fiscal year 26, 27.
Okay.
Yep, thank you guys. Appreciate it.
Next up, Andy Wicks, engineer, discussion and our decision to approve and authorize the board chairman to sign agreement number 2026-C-094 for project number IMX-880-1, parent 38-02-78 for the Iowa Department of Transportation, updating off ramps and lowering L34 beneath 880.
Correct. Yeah. So
Hi, Andy.
thank you for reading that out.
Oh, yeah, that was,
So-
took a lot.
Yeah. The DOT loves their parent numbers. So essentially this project, I brought one last week and just a quick update on that one really quick. That was on Highway 6 and 350th Street. And the DOT just requested Brian sign that last week.
And we'd asked you if they were keeping one lane open. That's what we asked.
Correct. And that will remain one lane open the whole time.
Okay.
However, there will be a detour on L55 to Highway 92 to Highway 59, and that won't happen until 2029. So we still have years until we get there. So
So we're approved now.
we're approved now, just the way the DOT operates, they really like to get stuff out way ahead of time. So yeah, that Highway 6 project is a 2029 construction, but yeah, it affects Highway 6 and our 350th Street. So back to the project you just read off, which impacts L34. L34 goes under I-880 And that is scheduled for the middle of 2030 construction season. So again, 4 years out. And again, the DOT just put this in front of me and said, hey, we need board chair to sign this. But that will be a full closure of L34 at that time. They haven't completed the detour route yet. So again, it's 2030, so we have time to figure out an appropriate detour route.
How tall is that under the bridge now?
So I do not have that number.
They go by a 13.6 down the interstate.
Yeah, and I can't remember how low it is, but basically that bridge is in need of some repairs and it's been hit. And they thought that the best option would be to lower L34 instead of raise I-880. It's the cheaper alternative. So the DOT will be impacting our road L34 under the interstate. And that's scheduled for 2030. And basically the DOT is just requesting, they're going to pay for all of the impacts to our pavement between the ramp terminals. So there's no money out of our pocket for that, but that's the project.
That's always good.
Absolutely. So obviously L34 has come up in public comment in the past month or so, and that is in our 5-year program. So everything outside of the ramp terminals that the county wants to improve will come out of our budget, but that's separate from this project.
Good.
If I can, those, every station's 100 feet, is that right?
Correct.
So they're gonna fix about 1,000 feet of it, lower it. We're not gonna have, it won't be a collection point for water and ice and all that stuff, will it?
So they're
It's gonna
doing,
happen when I'm gone, but, I mean, still, I don't want it to be a collection point for any of that stuff. I'm
Correct.
sure they're designing it that it isn't, but I would just ask that you keep that in mind and make sure that that's what they do.
absolutely.
It's not our project, so. Okay,
Yep, I'll review the hydrology for
so what do
that.
you want? You want the chairman to sign it?
I would recommend the chairman signing it.
I'll do that for you.
Okay, thank you.
I'll second it. Sorry,
Who was the second?
Susan Miller.
Got a motion by Wickman, a second by Miller to approve agreement number 2026-C-094. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carried. Next up, Andy Wicks, engineer. Discussion and/or decision to approve and authorize the board chairman to sign agreement 2026-C-096. Project number IMN-029-4, parent 13366-E or OE-78 for the Iowa Department of Transportation for replacing bridge on Rosewood over I-29. That is the exit at Honey Creek, correct?
Correct.
That's been needed for a long time.
Yep, and that project is slated for 2028. So again, that's not this construction season. We have a couple of years. The DOT is going to pay for full reconstruction. No money will come out of secondary roads or the county's budgets for that project. And they will maintain traffic on I-29 the whole time, but they will close down Rosewood. And as of right now, they have not identified a detour plan, but they will have to provide that prior to construction starting. So.
What about the exit ramps? Do they do that on that project? Doesn't show it, but just the bridge.
Yeah, I thought it was just the bridge. I'd have to go back and check to see.
Part of the round.
They're not gonna put signals up.
The very end.
Andy, at the State House, there was discussion about bridges over the interstate connecting county roads to deliver those bridges to the counties. Is that conversation still going on? Are you aware of anything like that?
That has not made it to my desk.
Okay. I mean, that's next.
Hopefully we get this approved and get it under the wire. Okay, questions, comments? I need a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Miller, a second by Jorgensen to approve agreement number 2026-C-096. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Got that. Thank you, Andy. Thank you. Okay, next up, David Bayer, Chief Financial Officer, discussion under decision to approve and authorize the board chairman to sign copier lease agreement documents. Hi, David.
Hi there, good morning.
Morning.
So this is a new 60-month agreement. We're wrapping up our previous 60-month agreement with copiers and printers. So this is the new one. Essentially, the plan is that we would replace all the copiers and printers with new ones, but then also save 15% on printing charges. So the way copier lease agreements work is we have the lease of the units and the printing charges, the black and white and color printing charges. And all those are in the documents that you guys have, the amounts. And I've talked with all the board or all the department heads, and they're all in agreement that this is the right plan. And so numbers wise, the total lease is $4,385 per month divided by each department. So each department pays their own for their own devices. And those are all outlined in that Schedule A, if you were to look at that spreadsheet. And then they all pay, of course, their own printing charges as well. Black and white is cheaper, color is more expensive. It just depends on how much you do of each. And then you get billed monthly. Jeanette handles the billing for that.
David, didn't we get new copiers? Was that last year or the year before?
5 years ago.
Oh, seemed like last year.
It does seem like last year, but no, it was 5 years.
Time flies when you're having fun, huh?
Yes,
Is that your recommendation, David?
it is.
I'll move that for you.
Thank you. Got a motion by Wickman, a second by Jorgensen to approve the copier lease agreement. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Passes.
Thank you.
David, I know that's a lot of work tracking down all that information, so thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay. This is Kristen Bracker, attorney, discussion of a decision to approve and authorize the board to sign contract agreement with the city of Crescent regarding the 911 tower. Boy, this has been a long slog, hasn't it?
Sure has.
Yeah, everything looks good.
I sent out an email to the board with the changes before Crescent approved it last night. They did agree to an initial term of 10 years before the 2-year cancellation kicks in.
Thank you for circling back with them and getting their response.
So Tim's argument did work.
I'm sorry, what's that?
Tim's argument did work.
I talked with
Apparently.
their attorney and it was just really an oversight.
Okay.
That's really what it was. So
I'll make the motion to approve and authorize the board to sign the contract agreement with the city of Crescent for the 911 tower.
I'll second.
got a motion by Miller, a second by Jorgensen to approve the city of Crescent regarding the 911 tower. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Motion carried.
Thanks, Kristen.
What's up with this resolution?
Which resolution?
Email. Kristen sent. I think it's just their city resolution.
Okay, well, we're not leasing the water tower.
No, we're releasing land near the water tower.
Well, the resolution says that, resolution to approve revised Pot County Sheriff's Office contract to lease the water tower.
I didn't send a resolution. I don't believe.
It was in the email you
Is that on
sent,
the email?
but it's not required to be signed by the county. It was
This
just,
was the Crescent email.
Yeah.
For the Crescent resolution. Yeah.
Well, that's not what it says on the agenda, so what are we doing?
We
Nothing.
are not signing a resolution. We are just signing the lease agreement at this time. The county does not have a resolution.
Jeff and Keith, thanks for sticking with me on that. We got this thing more reasonable for the county, I believe.
That's a good spot.
You know, it's been a long slug, as the chairperson said. You know, we spoke about this on February 21st. And at that point, I asked for a draft to be sent to the board so we could review it to make sure we didn't have any of these issues when it came to the board, but we weren't provided that, so, but I'm glad it's over.
Okay, next up, discussion and or decision on board salary recommendation for elected officials for fiscal year 26-27, and to set date for signing resolution determining decision. Okay, everybody look this over for where we're at.
was not in our packets, but it was that document that was emailed out.
Well, and we had a discussion about this, and the discussion was that we were gonna give 3% to all of our elected officials. This has to be done at a public hearing for the budget. It can be done today, right?
Correct. We set next week, the 28th.
Matt Wilbur is not able to be here today. He has some other things he's got to attend to. He sent me to kind of clarify a few things. He had some concerns with the amount of documentation that the board has used so far in lieu of a compensation committee. And before anything was approved, he wanted to make sure that all of the documentation necessary was provided. So if you'd like, I can speak to that now or after you've had a chance to discuss.
Got it now?
Sure. So,
Bring it on up.
and let me know if you can't hear me. I obviously am not the loudest speaker. But when the board decided to act in lieu of a compensation committee or essentially as their own compensation committee, obviously the code requires that they review certain evidence and provide certain documentation that they have done that. I have reviewed the information in the board's file, in the compensation committee file, and it appears that there are a few things that are missing. I know Matt Wilbur provided kind of a document in support of his salary to the board. Back when we had the study session, I believe. He was looking for that and wasn't able to send it to me this morning. So I don't have it, but I know that the board got some of that information in regards to the county attorney's office. However, in addition to comparable offices in other counties in Iowa, the code specifies that, and this code section was sent out to the board quite a while ago. But the code sections 333.907 specifies that the compensation board will look at comparable offices in other states, in private enterprise, and federal government for the auditor, treasurer, recorder, sheriff's office, county attorney, and all the supervisors. In addition, for the sheriff's office, they also need to look at comparable salaries paid to professional law enforcement administrators, command officers in the state patrol, the Division of Criminal Investigation, Department of Public Safety, and city police chiefs in cities with populations that are similar to the population of Potawatomi County. I do see that in addition to the ISAC salary study, the board has the Council Bluffs, an email regarding the Council Bluffs police chief's salary, but there are still several things missing, which in order to act as your own compensation board, you would have had to review that, provide that, it would have had to be provided to all 5 board members. And there should be some sort of documentation where there is a decision based on all of that information for what the salary should be. So that doesn't necessarily have to be the salary the board decides to set, but when the board is acting as their own compensation committee, there should be support and evidence for whatever salary is, suggested to the board for final consideration. So I understand that, per the information we have, all of the elected officials, except for the sheriff, are recommended to have a 3% raise, and the sheriff is recommended to have a 4.1% raise. But there really isn't any evidence which would support that raise outside of the ISAC information. And I don't know that that is necessarily enough to get to a 3% raise.
What else would we need, Kristen?
So in addition to the Iowa counties, which is what we have for most of the elected officials, that appears to be the only evidence that was relied upon for the elected officials, except for the sheriff. You would need to look at other states and the offices in other states, the similar offices in private enterprise, which I understand is difficult because we have elected officials who are doing different jobs for the county. We don't have a recorder in most private enterprises, but as close as you can come to that elected official position in private enterprise. And then you're also supposed to look at the federal government salaries. So those 3 parts are missing for all of the elected officials. And then obviously the sheriff's office has those other law enforcement agencies as listed in the code. And I believe that Mitch, in his proposal to the board, listed out the sheriff's office agent, like the other agencies that would be necessary. I think there's a note in there that says, we still need this information, and I don't see that this information, that information is ever provided. So I
got the information from the state patrol.
So it must be provided to the entire board, and the board must also have some sort of documentation that is using that information to provide a salary increase proposal. And then, of course, like any other year, the board can take that salary information proposal and, do with it what they wish. So if the board wants to do a 3% or a 4.1% increase, even though it's not necessarily supported by the compensation board information, that is provided for in the code. There has to be that compensation committee decision first, and that has to be provided with documentation.
Do we need to have a special meeting for that?
I mean, because there isn't, a lot of the information is missing, I would assume that the board would want to have a special meeting and review the documentation and come up with a proposal as the compensation committee. Because again, the board has decided to act as their own comp committee, and in doing that, they have to kind of take multiple steps to get to the final answer. And I think that it appears anyway from the information that I have in the folder that the board kind of skipped the step of compensation committee, which I know last year that happened and it was, not a great situation. And so this year, I know the board is interested in making, taking all the necessary steps as the compensation committee.
First, I have a question.
Sure.
Okay, I belong to the Southwest Iowa Juvenile Detention. The organizing committee is from quite a few of the counties around the region, right? And we were discussing at one point, salary increases for juvenile detention employees. And then as we were talking, we were just starting to discuss amongst ourselves, I think there's 9 counties in the, about what everybody's salary increases are for their county employees and basically in general. And we agreed to a 3% increase for the juvenile detention employees, but also 3% was what was, I guess, the figures that most of the county supervisors that I was talking to were going to submit as their salary increase for their place. Is that something I need to document, or is that something?
So the code requires documentation. So any evidence or supporting, facts that you have discovered needs to be documented. And then because, again, the board is acting as the compensation committee, they have to, as the compensation committee, distill all of the evidence into a figure and then present that figure to the Board of Supervisors.
Because I believe we were just talking about juvenile detention center at one point in one of our meetings. And that 3% salary increase came up. And then at the meeting, I was telling everybody that the supervisors I was talking to were in agreement, 2%, they were going to.
That isn't documented though.
Yeah, documentation.
That's all she's asking.
Okay.
I think that I know that there has been a closed session, or not closed session, a study session on this issue. So the board has discussed compensation, but I think the codes, it appears the main, goal behind this code is if the Board of Supervisors dissolves a compensation committee and decides to act as their own compensation committee, that those documents are provided.
Okay, so I just need to submit something that of my discussion with the other.
No, that's not documented.
I'm sure that is something that you could use as supporting, but if you had actual facts and figures, that would probably be more supportive. So I know that the ISAC study has all of the counties from Iowa and what everybody is making. And so I think that that's probably largely what you discussed. And so that documentation is already in the folder provided to the Board of Supervisors.
Well, we're encouraged to talk to other.
Sure, absolutely.
Is that right?
So we'll need a special meeting early next week to approve that, correct?
When's what's the day of our budget hearing?
Next
Tuesday,
Tuesday.
28th.
From today. If we're missing documentation, it would have been nice to have Mitch provide that documentation. And since we don't have a Mitch, we need to figure out who's going to provide that for us. I would caution the board of not doing that ourselves because it wouldn't be biased information, or would not be unbiased information.
So,
Who could we appoint to do that?
I think that, I know that you were not here last year when we had more of this discussion, so just to kind of give some background. There used to be a compensation, and that was the non-Board of Supervisors members that would, compile information and distill a number in support of whatever salary increase it was. The Board of Supervisors, when they decided to dissolve that, acts as their own. So it's actually the responsibility of each of the board members or the board members as a whole to collect that information. I know, like I said, I read Mitch's memo or, documentation, and he did say in there that we were missing pieces. But I don't think that it was ever, I think that one of his notes directed the board to collect the information, but it was never really discussed who was going to do that or when it would happen or when it would be provided to the board.
Understood. Thank you.
Okay.
Brian, since I've already done most of the work on this, well, actually, let me rephrase that. Since I have the information for the sheriff that I spoke about at our meeting, as far as the salaries for state patrol and that kind of thing, I'll take his. We want to divide these up and get it done. I don't know how
You got 6 of them.
You know, our elected officials are extremely hard to compare to anybody. You know, the auditor, how do you compare the auditor? There's nothing in the general public, is it a general or a private position that does anything that they do with elections and the budgets and real estate. And I mean, you can run right down the line. There isn't one out there, nor is there one with the treasurer. Because they do more than collect money. You know, they take care of license plate, real estate issues, dog license. I better stop there before I forget everything they do. And, you know, the recorder's the same way. You know, our main source of information is for us to find out what other counties are paying their people and how much money do we have to pay them with.
But there is a provision that we have to compare them to the private sector though, right, Kristen?
Yeah, absolutely. That's
That
listed in
makes it
the
tough.
code. Well, in addition to having documentation, the code also specifies that there also must be documentation demonstrating how the compensation board, or in this case, the Board of Supervisors, determined the recommended compensation schedule for the elected officials. So it would not be enough to just have a list of all of the, required documentation, but the Board of Supervisors also has to prove that they've got to demonstrate how they got to that number at the end. I think there is some of that in the document that Mitch provided, but I don't know that it's sufficient, especially if it's missing all of the.
You know, I'm to the point, I don't care what other counties pay their officials. We're only dealing with our budget.
Sure, so,
and
and
that's
Jeff,
what
as I mentioned,
3%, 2.8% was the yearly
Cost of living.
inflation factor. Okay, so add 0.2% to that, that's where I'm at. I don't care, period, what anybody else, other counties are paying their
Jeff,
officials.
we gotta do it according to code.
Well,
so
the
as
state
I
law.
mentioned, the
how do I address that?
So the board is acting as both the compensation committee and the Board of Supervisors. The comp committee is required to provide all this documentation. So the board has to do that, has to give themselves a number. Whether or not the Board of Supervisors goes with that number is still up to the Board of Supervisors. Obviously, a county has a budget that they must stick to. And the Board of Supervisors has always been able to go outside of what the suggestion is to them by the comp committee. So that hasn't changed. You as the Board of Supervisors can still set the amounts that you feel is feasible for the county to support, but there just must be documentation that all of these things have been looked into. So, I mean.
Did in the past, the Potawatomi County had a set of volunteers?
Yeah.
Acted as a compensation
Yep.
board. Did they go through that process and they documented it?
Yes.
They never provided it to the Board of Supervisors, not one time since I've been on this board. However, that's not going to relieve us of what we have to do. And as far as showing the compensation amount, our budget determines that. If there's no money,
Yeah, I
You don't get a raise?
remember, I think sitting here on the first year I was on the board, their recommendation was 9%. On those lines. Remember that, Tim?
yeah, I mean, I don't want to get into a debate about the compensation board, the prior compensation board. I thought it was
Okay.
extremely unfair, but if I take care of the sheriff, I'm going to take care of somebody else. Or
How's, which other one you want?
well, there's 5 of them.
Plus us.
Well, I don't care if we get anything.
But we still have to shore up with Phil.
Who wants the treasurer?
I can do the treasurer.
Quick question, if
What do you
we,
want?
I'll take the attorney if I could. But quick question, if the 5 of us do our own separate investigations, our findings are gonna be not the same.
Then we meet next week before our meeting, have a separate meeting on the compensation board. And we share that with each other. Jeff, which one are you taking?
Give me one.
Auditor?
All right.
That leaves a recorder for me.
Golly gee.
And then the supervisors, do we really?
You still need to provide information for the supervisors.
Let's look at all of ours. Everybody do the supervisors. Okay. Okay, we're gonna have a meeting at 8:30 next Tuesday morning on the compensation. Okay, Kristen, thank you for your guidance. Okay, so we'll table this till next week. Get that on the agenda for the regular meeting. Next up, we got committee appointments. Yeah,
Last Wednesday, I was at the Southwest Iowa Pension Organizational meeting and just give an update. He's been there too.
I was.
I was at the Great American Rail Trail. We had a meeting with that. We were at the bond meeting last week. Conservation. I was at WIDA. I had a MAPPA meeting. I met with the city. Then we had a UTV meeting. And then, I was out of town after that. Susan?
I had a WIDA board meeting. I sat in on union negotiations, Thriving Families board meeting. Kate and I went to Full Circle Recovery for a educational session. And I just want to remind everybody about the Veterans Resource Festival on Saturday.
Thank you. Tim? No. Okay. All right, next up, public comments. Anybody got public comments?
We do, we have two.
On the schedule today.
Oh, sorry.
Who's that?
Negotiation.
Cindy, do you want to go first or?
And I'm gonna remind you of 3 minutes. I got rebuked last week for going over 3 minutes, okay? So state your name and address, and then we'll start the 3 minutes.
Cindy Collier, Kevin. Kevin, 20174 Victoria Drive, Council Bluffs, Iowa. I'm back talking about the Whispering Oaks and the south of Greenview easement property. In your report I gave you on the DNR, there was also this citation or whatever you want to call it. But there were 18 notices of violations for Whispering Oaks from the DNR between April 2016 and December 2017, 18. They also had a culpability clause in there. The TS development is engaged in the business of construction and property development. Therefore, it has an obligation to be aware of applicable regulations and comply with those regulations. Moreover, the permit holder, TS Development, has an obligation to be aware and fulfill requirements associated with that permit. In addition, the department informed TS Development of the legal requirements and the specific deficiencies on numerous occasions. Nevertheless, the violations persisted. Therefore, they were fined $3,000. They were fined $7,000 at the beginning. Also, after requesting for SWPPP reports that were not included with the on-site binders on August 22nd, 2025, according to the provided records and most recent inspection conducted on August 12, 2025, also requested controls near the outfalls associated with the west basin. See the snippet below it. They had a diagram, and that's in your DNR report too. And it says, however, there are no references and then that the inspections are occurring along south side of Greenview Road and controls have not been maintained, nor are controls addressed about the inlet pipes and the two detention basins. So they're not complying there. Also, we had a water analysis report done by Olmsted Perry in 2001 for Wilshire Heights Association for the culvert we put in, which is a 60-inch concrete round culvert. And when Olmsted and Perry did Greenview Road, they only went to Bonnie Lane. So when we had them do ours, they went clear back to Bonnie Lane and all the way down through Robin Hills and to our drainage. And they told us the way the water was, the 45 culvert, or whatever it's called under Greenview Road, we would still have water running over our roads because it is at the lane, Bonnie Lane, it's 115 CFS to 132 CFS, whatever that means. So that's what they're telling us. Also, Iowa Code Section 314.7 allows the public agency should use diligence in maintaining surface flow of water in natural channels. That's what our easement is. It's not a ditch. And any turning of natural drainage patterns must avoid injury to adjacent property owners in general and diversion of surface drainage from natural patterns to avoid by public agencies during construction or maintenance of activities on occasions that practice many prove beneficial to both property owners and agency. Also, I asked about Chapter 28E. It's a joint exercise of governmental powers. Levy and drainage districts have broad discretion to enter into cooperative agreements with other public or private agencies and in jointly exercising powers to accomplish improvements that include the potential partners, our state officials, local officials, and agencies.
Cindy, you're past your 3 minutes. The DNR did find them again.
Yes, and I got 2 extensive emails this morning right before I came. One's 13 pages, I haven't even looked at the other, but we're going to the city after we leave here. But
Good.
I also contacted this governor of the state of Iowa about this, and she recommended we go to the city and here and then get back to them, and they'll have an independent person that can help us.
Okay, thank you. Next up.
Bob Lynch, 20201 Bonnie Lane. I was here last week. I know, 3 minutes. I wanted to say that I by no means came in here last week saying that we have an attorney meant that as a threat. If anything, I want us to all work together. City, county, DNR. This is something that ain't gonna go away this time. We have let it go since 1999, when the county blocked the road and ran all their traffic right up my street. And so it's been going on, and we haven't done nothing about it, but this is gonna get worse. We have 33 sewer drains, storm sewer drains, running into one proportioning box that was never meant for that much water. Soon, we're gonna have all the roofs off of all the buildings, all the parking lots, all the concrete off all the buildings. It's all gonna be running to that place. Just on Saturday, they had a water main break. Nobody's fault, it's a water main break. But it flooded again, and flooded mud out on Greenview Drive. And did anybody give a damn? Nobody did anything about it. I mean, I'm just amazed that the city don't want to be accountable, the county don't want to be accountable, and the contractor don't want to be accountable, so they just leave it set. I mean, I don't understand it. Isn't somebody gonna be worried about somebody getting killed? Anyway, I mean, other things, the debris is amazing. The other day, the neighbor got a whole book of somebody's, receipts and for doing flooring. It's all blown off there, the winds we've had, all their garbage is in our neighborhood. The plans have changed dramatically since the beginning. When we went to the first city council meeting, as everybody in the place that hated the thing except for the developer's attorney, they told us that from Franklin to the water tower, there was gonna be a berm all the way along there with a fence and trees. Well, now there's a through street. And because these people, they're complaining about too much traffic on Franklin. And so I would also like to know, how do I get to be part of the agenda of the meeting?
Call in and, you can talk to me. What do you got to,
What's that?
we can put you on the agenda.
Okay, I will, because when we sat here, I know you guys got business, but we
Right.
sat here for 2 hours to listen to business, and we get 3 minutes to talk.
Mhm.
Well, it's not the way they do it on the other side of the street. They let the citizens say something first and then, well, I'll call you, Brian.
Okay,
Thank you, guys.
all right.
Well, Bob, have you been to the city of Council Bluffs for this?
Yes, and we're going to meet with the mayor right now.
Okay, good. I mean, that, that's a city development.
Yeah.
They should be
When it was the
responsible.
county, you guys wouldn't do nothing for us either.
What's that?
When it was the county, you guys wouldn't do nothing for us either. You and I walked that ditch together. Jeff, you, me, numerous. I got paperwork of us on the front page of the paper together from 1986 when this was happening. And we've got nothing done.
32 years ago.
Yeah,
Well,
I can't believe we're both still alive.
that would me neither.
But the bigger issue here
Okay.
is.
Okay,
We've been
we're
kicking this
past 3
can.
minutes and we can get you on an agenda. That's a situation for us. Okay,
Sean Anderson, 19377 340th Street, Oakland, Iowa. Listening to Ms. Hazelwood talk today a little bit about the data centers, I noticed, Tim was a little bit curious about the water usage. A lot of them will tell you that they're using a closed loop system, which does continue to recycle that water. But as she explained, especially with generative AI, they run a lot hotter. So that means a lot more of that water is evaporating. So what happens is if you say you start out with a cup of water, you're pouring that cup of water on something extremely hot, a lot of that's going to evaporate off. So the water you're left with, maybe half a cup of water. And the contaminants in that water are now going to be more concentrated because you have undiluted those contaminants. So just to kind of speak on that a little bit for when they talked about having the closed loop systems and the water usage, but I do absolutely appreciate you asking her about if they have any things showing what kind of water usage they are going to use. And I know Susan had said something about the jobs and such. Most data centers usually only have about 10 employees that run in them. They are big buildings that take up a lot of space, a lot of water, a lot of power, and do not have many jobs once they are established. And that is all I have to say. Thank you.
thank you, Shauna. Anyone else?
I don't believe so.
Okay. All right,
I'll move to go into closed session pursuant to Iowa Code 20.17 parent 3, discussion decision on labor negotiations, collective bargaining.
thank you.
Second.
Mary Ann, would you do? Roll
Chairman?
call?